what is the location of the emergency?
You're going to think I'm crazy, that I'm under demonic attack.
Stop where you're at.
There's rocks flying through windows. There's stuff breaking in my house like nothing I've ever seen. You may not believe in that, but you would if you were here.
Paranormal Patrol Podcast.
Welcome back. We are at it with another episode. We are here with Brad, Frank, Jason, and Jen. And this episode is a good one. This is the McInteer Villa in Atchison, Kansas. This investigation, we got invited by Mike and Leah, who are now producing a documentary for the city of Atchison. And they asked if we would investigate it, film us, and they're going to use some of our footage to help with the documentary.
Yeah, so this is our second trip to the McInteer. We covered it in season 1 the first time we went with a group. When we first met Mike and Leah, this time we went back and it was just us.
Yeah.
Except we brought everybody's favorite hypnotist with us, Tiffany Downing.
That's right. Yeah, first time I met her, she definitely got us right before the investigation started.
Yeah, we brought her along. She wanted to do that experiment that we had discussed a little.
And what's that experiment called again?
By season 1. It was, we did a group hypnosis session. Yeah.
Words are hard.
What? Yeah,
So
definitely.
Tiffany joined us today because she has never really experimented with paranormal and tying it to her hypnosis session.
It's spreading, isn't it? It's spreading.
So she was like, I think it would be really cool if I could hypnotize you guys and put you into the mind frame to where you'll be more receptive. Now, we all kind of went in and gave her some ideas ahead of time. I think that Leah was trying to open herself up more to receive more clear messages. And the cool thing is that we sat there and we were hypnotized for about 20 minutes. She let us down. Frank has done this before. So we do have a previous episode that explained how hypnosis works. And you can watch Frank go into this hypnosis as we're sitting there. We did not make him like lick the table or none of that stuff that you guys see at the bars, the comedy clubs is really how this worked. So we're sitting in this dark room and Tiffany is walking us down this path of relaxation. So in the meantime, we can go as deep down as we want, but everybody stopped at a different level. I think Brad stopped earlier and then the rest of us kind of went through it. And then she never told Leah to come out of the hypnosis. So she remained hypnotized the entire time to be more open and welcoming to these entities. So I also think that this has carried with us over to future investigations as well. And maybe that's why we had more at the McInteer, which was one of our previous episodes. So not the McInteer, we're talking about the McInteer. I mean the farmhouse. But in the process, she did this as an experimentation. So this isn't something I think that's been done before. I have not seen it
I've talked to a few
anywhere.
paranormal investigators and they have never even thought about it, much less heard about it.
And the fact that we have this on video, I think, is really cool. And it can be groundbreaking. Like, I want to try it again.
I can tell you, we'll talk about some of our evidence later in the episode, but I think it actually worked for me because I experienced things that I have never experienced before. And I continue to experience it on the next investigation as well. So,
Yeah. And this is actually something I've been wanting to do. When we went on to Nicolette's radio show, she was asking me, is there anything different that I would like to do on one of these investigations? And I actually brought up, I would love to go into a hypnosis right before going in. And this is prior to even knowing anything about Tiffany coming to El. Yeah.
It all just came into fruition.
Yeah.
Really.
No, it was cool. I could definitely tell I was going in, during the hypnosis. I kind of pulled back because it was I don't know, freaked me out a little bit. I didn't want to get too far into it. So I kind of made myself snap out of it pretty early because it was definitely working. I could feel myself going into it.
So I didn't really remember everything. When you were hypnotized, Frank, I'm really actually kind of jealous because you got to create a burn barrel. And I did not. All I did was kind of open myself up to apparently having ghosts turn my water on and off. But when you were hypnotized, did you have that same feeling that we experienced of like just calming and then the words go in and out? Like you didn't really, because for me, I didn't really remember a lot of what she said.
I was able to remember. She said, I feel like hypnotized varies person to person. I think
Okay.
if you're more susceptible to it, I think that you're going to be able to be hypnotized a lot easier and get the benefits of that. I think that if it's something that you're a little uncomfortable with, or maybe you're not as easily hypnotized, then it's something that you have to train yourself to be able to do. And I know that if we ever do that again, I will not be hypnotized because I open my eyes to you two recording me with your phone.
Well, I've never experienced before. Okay, let's reverse about 5 years. Did you all ever imagine that we would be doing the shit we do
Absolutely
today?
not.
Who'd have thought that collectively we'd even encounter this gentleman sitting at the end who is just wildly into the same shit randomly by chance? That's happenstance. I believe in fate, and I believe that Brad was put in our path at this point in time in our lives for a reason. And it's because we're growing into this, right? And we needed that extra person who has a little bit of experience of what the hell he's doing to just take us along this ride. And for that, I do thank you, Brad. But who'd have thought that it would grow into limpy rituals, being friends with a hoodoo priestess now, a local hypnosis from Pathless Taken Hypnosis. Her name is Tiffany Downing, by the way. Check out our website. You can find a link to it on ours, hauntedorigins.com. But who'd have thought that we would have these kinds of connections now? And then Larry Flaxman, all those wonderful interviews we've had. And then this hookup with L&M Paranormal that has taken us to this location so immensely, like just an immersive experience.
And for the people that don't know, I'm going on knowing Jen for almost 20 years.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, in
It's wild.
17 years, I mean,
there, yeah.
almost just as much. And so with, Brad being the newest member of our group, thinking about us doing this 5 years ago, knowing how long we've known each other, how long we've talked about some of our supernatural experiences, I still did not picture us doing this.
Nope, not at
No,
all.
we've encountered some weird shit.
It's pretty wild to think of. But
Yeah, that's so cool. But nothing wilder than the shit that we experienced when we're on site. So we had a lot of really cool experiences there. I have one that I'll share as we get to talking about it, but we have some evidence that we really want to share too today.
I think this investigation held something big for each of the members of the team, when we went there in our own ways. But I think we didn't mention before that Frank wasn't with us for this. He had a family. He had a family accommodation he had tonight.
Yeah, so the team members that were there were Jen Collabong and Brad, with special guest Tiffany Downey. And I was supposed to be there, but the day that we were traveling, I decided to test positive for influenza A. So my life sucked for the next 3 or 4 days. And so I was unable to make this. I was supposed to be there. Unfortunately, influenza A said, you will be staying home and you will suck for the next.
I'm so glad you decided to stay home because that shit's gross. Last time Jason and I got the flu, we both almost died.
Yeah.
It was Christmas. It was a fucking nightmare. I'm never taking drugs from him or sharing a VR headset. I'm learning these lessons as life goes on. So anyways, I just want to give a big shout out to Leah and Mike. Leah's story is just so profound. She has a book out that she has self-published that explains her whole situation and how she now just has one foot in the other side and she's able to receive these profound messages, which I actually received while we were on this trip. I cried a little bit while we were there because I was just so like, what the actual F is going on? So we'll get in that here in a minute, but to kick us off, Brad, how was your experience there?
Yeah, I've never been. It's a new location. And I've never done hypnosis. And I met Mike and Leah, and like you said, I learned a little bit about her story. So going through the night, knowing that, and then some of the evidence we caught, the sessions we were doing, the things that were coming out, it was eye-opening for sure.
Yeah, and I think we kind of just assumed, because we covered it before in season 1, I think we would be remiss if we didn't explain the McInteer for the new listeners that we'd be picking up, I hope.
Yeah, share us with your friends.
So, yeah, right, absolutely. Hit that share button and just share it with the world.
That's right, yeah.
Share it overseas. We'll be happy. But the McInteer Villa was built in the late 1800s in the city of Atchison. If the city of Atchison sounds familiar, that's because it's also the location of the infamous Sally House, which we will also be covering a little bit more in this season. It was owned by several families, built initially by John McInteer, an Irish immigrant, and it passed through the hands of several different owners. The infamy from the McInteer house comes from having multiple deaths within it. As we found out the hard way on our first visit, also a suicide by gun. So that is a very
Right.
brief history of the McInteer.
And it is currently owned by a woman named Stephanie, and she is awesome. And she is probably one of the most bubbly people I've ever met in my life. And I wouldn't, like, if I saw her on the street and I talked to her on the street, I wouldn't expect that she would be the owner of such a spooky place. But man, she's wild, and she is so
She's a
fun.
character.
So super fun. So anyways, if you guys get a chance to check it out, they got a website. Yeah, all the things. This is our second time. And I will say, like, if somebody's like, well, why do you guys talk about the same stuff every season? Well, it's because it's different experiences, and you really do have to visit a place multiple times. And it also goes to show that sometimes we'll get evidence, sometimes we won't. And sometimes we'll just have hours of it, like we did when we went to the Poor Farm. Or like when we went to the Crescent the second time, we didn't really have
Got
much of
nothing.
anything.
Yeah.
Nothing but a bunch of fun. And yeah. So anyways, speaking of Frank not being there, Frank, we did miss you. It's when we got there, we realized that some of the spirits missed you too, apparently. Because while we were there, Leah was channeling and she presented a really interesting interaction. And I think we can share that with you guys. I think.
Start there for sure.
Is
Good.
that a good spot to start? Because Frank hasn't heard all of this live. So you are actually going to get hands down his actual reaction after this. You won't be able to see him while we play it, but he'll be able, we'll cut right back after we play this through.
Let's see what the spirits have to say.
Yeah, I want to listen to it again too, because it's been a minute and I kind of forgot a lot of the stuff that we talked about.
And L&M Paranormal, Leah is a medium.
Mhm. Yes, Leah channels spirits basically everywhere she goes, apparently.
Not by her,
Mhm.
not even near her death experience.
Yeah, her death, her story is so wild. I highly recommend anybody who's curious head over to their website. They share a lot of information and in her book. So, anyway, she brought a message for our buddy over here while we were there. So here we'll play that through. It's a few minutes long.
Let me keep reading.
Yeah.
What was that?
This
Here.
thing's on the board.
The mail.
Are you the one that had a message for Frank?
Yeah.
You guys know Frank. Well,
Bye.
we-
Her box works by switching.
You have
You
a message for Frank? And what is that message?
In his dream. I've been visiting. Coming back. Like replies. I don't want to scary. I hurt his feet.
Didn't she say he touched my feet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you
Pause it
do
right
that?
There is no way Leah could have known that. There is no way Leah could have known. I've met her one time in my life, and it was brief. There is no way she could have known that probably 2 years ago, a spirit did touch my feet. That is fucking creepy. There's no way she could have known that. So I grew up in a haunted house, as I've shared in previous videos, and I visited that house. My mom still lives in it, and I visited that house over the Thanksgiving holiday. And when I came home that evening, I was actually sleeping alone in a spare bedroom. And I woke up in the middle of the night to the sheets being pulled down on me, the sheets actually holding me to the bed as though there was one person standing on each side, and the sheets were physically holding me to the bed. And I woke up, I kind of jumped up a little bit, and I thought, okay, if that was supernatural, maybe what happened again. I'm wide awake at this point. And as I thought that, it happened again. The sheets held me to the bed. I could feel the tension. I felt the force, and I lifted my arms up and I jumped up, And I said, whoever you are, you cannot be here. You have to leave. And I didn't have anything else happen. That was Thanksgiving. But at the Christmas time, I once again visited my mom's house. I came home and I once again was sleeping in the same spare bedroom. And I really couldn't sleep because I was wondering if that spirit, that attachment from my mom's house was with me. And I was lying in bed 30 minutes, 40 minutes, something like that. I don't remember how long I was there, but I heard the wood creak on the floor where someone steps into that room. That room, as you step into it, you hear that the wood floor creak. And I heard that. And I said, I don't know who you are, but you cannot be here. And a few seconds later, my foot was pushed to the side. Something that I couldn't see was pushing my foot off to the side. There is absolutely no fucking way Leah knew that that had happened to me. And she just said, the spirit said that he's in my dreams. I have nightmares of ghosts all the time. And the fact that he specifically said I touched his feet, there is no way she.
That's pretty wild. That is pretty crazy.
Well, that's not where the conversation ended. So
No, it's not.
keep listening.
Well, hold on. Let me back up. Let me add some background to this. So this recording picks up at, the point where it started. It was going on for a little while before we figured out that she was probably talking about Frank, because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the things she said was, he's not here right now. He was supposed to be here. He's not here.
Yeah, there's somebody that was supposed to be. And then she told us, she said, these spirits are saying there was somebody that was supposed to be here that didn't make it. And something happened and they couldn't come.
So it's giving me chills because I was supposed to be there, but the day of I got influenza and couldn't be there. All right, this is giving me chills.
Me too. Whatever it was, it knew you were going to be there and that Leah was there and was going to be able to give you a message. So, I mean, it was full circle.
If I want to hear anything.
Yeah.
We'll keep going.
There's a woman with him. She came in. She whispered softly, sick.
Whispered softly, he's sick. You were sick.
You gotta be kidding.
No, did you hear it? Let me replay it. Hold on, Leah. You'll hear Leah talking.
There's a woman with him. She came in. She whispered softly, sick.
What do you think about that? No freaking clue. And that is what confirms she was talking about Frank. He's sick.
I got chills, guys. I'm gonna take over me right now. Stop absorb this information.
It's crazy.
I don't even think I put that all together until now. I mean, I knew that the whole session was about Frank being there, but he's explaining how he couldn't be there and everything.
Hey.
Now hearing how the combo went, yeah,
It's wild.
I'm going to keep playing it through because it keeps going for a minute.
I have nothing. Again.
What? What's your name?
But I need to say I'm sorry.
Sorry for what? Well, let's find out.
This man had really dark hair. Kind of combed to the side. There was also a guy that came in that said Mike. When I heard his name Poe.
What's he wearing?
So I know the table. Yeah, it's like tan pants, blue polo shirt. I can see like little two really white buttons on it. Up at the top, they're not buttoned. So I went to the side. I don't know if it's supposed to be like a picture or something.
Now, is she talking about Frank right there?
I think she's talking about the spirits that she's channeling through.
The spirit.
Get me, bro.
Mike or Paul does not ring a bell.
Well, Mike is her husband. Mike's Leah's husband, and that's probably where the Mike came from. But like as she's channeling, she did explain that sometimes it's hard to because there's so many coming at her at once.
Are you
So
the one that has the message for Frank? Or for someone?
Calm down, please.
calm down.
I gotta say it before this closes.
We're listening.
You lift it off of him. Tell him to let it go.
Okay. We'll tell him.
Life's too short. And you know that. He's like squeezing his shoulder, like hand on the shoulder, your shoulder.
You say the name of the person the message is for.
Tell him to listen inside, relax a little bit. Last thing, not to be so guarded.
We haven't this message before.
So that's pretty much the end of the session that she did. But how does that relate to you, Frank? Like, how do you feel when you hear messages?
My mind is spinning right now because I'm trying to put the pieces together when, the spirits at one point said, "I'm sorry," and then again said, tell them to let it go. There are some, my father died just a few years ago, and unfortunately, with his death, there were some unresolved issues revolving around me and his family members, and there is some, how do you put it, because it's very personal, I won't talk about it. But if that was my father, with it sounds the way that he was dressed, it combed to the hair, sounds like it possibly could have been my father, that for him to say, "I'm sorry," tell him to let it go. I know exactly what he's talking about because I have dreams about him coming back and the issues that I'm referring to with my family. That makes absolute perfect sense. Now, the name Paul, doesn't register, with anything. However, I know the spirit at my mother's house was a military veteran, and for him to say, I'm not trying to scare him or those type of things. I mean, I grew up in the haunted house where I was scared all the time, and that really hits home. So when I'm hearing this, I'm really just trying to connect the dots as to, was there more than one spirit communicating? Was there one spirit? If it was, which spirit, exactly was it? Was it saying, let it go because of all the, trauma is the right word, but I mean, I still have nightmares about living in that house because of the things I experienced for many years. Is that what he's referring to? Is that why he said he was sorry, not meaning to scare me? I don't believe that he was malicious for a young child. Seeing things move, seeing things,
Right.
feeling things, is going to scare you. So right now I'm just trying to process.
Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that the experience at McInteer this time was more, it wasn't all about like finding the scare, right?
Right.
This ended up being more of an emotional experience that we had there. And I don't know why. I don't know if Brad, you agree, but with the responses that we got from the spirits and the experiences we had with the channeling this time, it was on a deeper level. Like, it was deep. Had Frank have been there, there may have been a completely different message, and maybe Frank would have left as emotional as I did when I got my message through Leah. And I don't know if when we went last time there was like freaking 20 people. So how hard is it for Leah to give a message when there's 20 people and probably 50 different spirits that have attachments to those people like flying through? And I mean, how difficult for her to have to filter through that and to live with that every day. But when it was just, 4 of us, it's probably a lot easier because she's not having so much thrown at her that they're able to send these individualized messages.
There is that. And there's also the entire possibility that at this point in time, we began the session from hypnosis. We ate dinner, then we went straight to hypnosis, and then we began the investigation.
Yeah.
So it's possible that our energies were just a lot more open. We were open and we were more receptive. And so we got to hear a lot more and easier. So, because we both had different experiences that night, that's something that's completely new to me that I've never had. But let's talk about your message though.
Yes, and I don't think we have it in recording because they haven't sent it over yet,
Yeah.
because there was so much to get. So we were upstairs talking, and I can remember it like it just happened. I'm watching it in my mind as I tell you guys about it. But we were sitting up there, and the message that was provided, I was talking to Leah, and we're sitting in this hallway, and we're all just sitting there. We're all just hanging out in the hallway, like sitting on the floor, totally chill, relaxed. We weren't really expecting anything. And then we're like, we'll do an Estes. And she had her headphones on, and she just started spitting out these names. But then she came out and started talking about, there's this guy, he's funny, he's really loud, he's, she was describing this obnoxious man. And then she was, something in her conversation led me to believe that maybe it was a message for me, because I was hoping so much for a message of some kind from my uncle. And as we're sitting there, I'll get to the good stuff, because we're sitting there after this long questioning, and I started to say, "Is this?" And she interrupted me and said, "You betcha, you bet it is." And I was like, and then she tells me, she says, she's speaking on behalf of the spirit, and it says something like, "I know you've been wishing for this." And I said, "Did you know I was there?" Because when my uncle passed away, I hauled ass down to Illinois. I mean, that's a 5-hour drive. And he was home on hospice. They had put him on hospice, and he was not super coherent when I was there that night. And his roommate, I don't want to disclose her name because I don't have permission, but she always told me, she's like, how proud he is of me and all this stuff. And in the conversation with Leah, and Leah has these headphones on, she can't hear what I'm asking. So her responses are unprompted. She's just spitting words out, and she doesn't know what they mean to me. And she starts saying, he's so proud of you, and all of these things. And I was just like, holy shit. Like, because everything that she said, and there's so much more to it, I would have to re-listen. But everything she said was like, that was my uncle coming through. And he's okay. He did say it's nice here. He doesn't hurt anymore, all these things, but how proud he was of me. And his roommate used to tell me that all the time. Even when I went there that day that he was put on hospice, he knew I was coming, because she told him, and I was able to talk to him when he was in the hospital and he's still awake. And I told him, I'm coming. I'm on my way. I'll freaking be there, dude. I'm not going to miss my chance to say bye. But she gave me time with him, and I was able to sit with him and talk to him. And about an hour and a half after I left to go back to the hotel, he died. And she really does think that he was waiting for me to get there, and for me to be able to say goodbye, because it was awful. It was devastated. But when I got this message from her, I mean, this isn't that long ago that my Uncle Robert passed away, but when I got that message from her, it was like, holy Santa Claus shit. Like, oh my God. And for it to be my Uncle Robert, not my dad, not my grandma, not, anybody else that's passed away that I was super duper close to, because I was also really close to those other members of my dad's family. But my uncle, and he was loud, he was obnoxious, and it said really inappropriate shit all the time. But it was really freaking cool. It was the coolest thing.
Yeah, you were pretty emotional when it was going on in the hallway. And for the listeners, when Leah channels, she uses the Estes method with a spirit box, but she's not using the spirit box. Something fell. Listeners, don't worry. Everybody's okay. We have workman's comp.
Oh, your phone fell. Yeah.
But so Leah channels using the spirit box with an Estes method, but she's not actually using the spirit box. What she does is she uses the white noise as an additional filter to block out the outside, and it kind of focuses her.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then she just kind of channels
whatever actual voices she hears, she's able to absorb them through that somehow.
But mean, those two very profound experiences. So,
It was just seemed very specific.
well, and in your case, nobody was actually asking things. She was just going off.
Yeah, and she just started talking about this guy and his name, and she said his name. I was just like, what the fuck? Like, what was it?
Well, it makes me wonder because she was very specific. The spirit talking about dreams, the spirit talking about touching feet. There's no way she knew that. And then I'm assuming another spirit saying there's a woman with him saying that he is sick. And then your interaction with your spirit, it makes me wonder. When we're talking about spirits, what do they know? How did a spirit know that I was supposed to be at the McInteer that particular night? I'm here for the person that couldn't make it.
Right.
And then how are they able to actually go to a point that they could communicate with? I mean, it makes my mind is spinning right now because there is so much that we don't know.
Well, and that's the purpose of what we do, right? We're experimenting, we're kind of finding out, and because nobody really knows how the hell it works.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool when we go out, we learn all these things and we see all these things. And, to have been there, and I know Brad saw you as well. I mean, you were genuinely emotional in the hallway. It wasn't a fake thing. You were genuinely emotional.
It was a weird, surreal experience for me. I've never had anything like that happen to me.
And this was, I believe, after we talked to Mike and Leah, they said that was one of the most, if not the most active night they had in McInteer's. So,
Yeah, I remember them saying.
I really do think it's tied to the fact that we allowed the hypnosis, but something else tied to the hypnosis. It didn't just affect us.
true story. But let's save that one for the very last, because that's just great.
And I mean, especially talking about what we had for you guys, for our last piece, it just goes to show you like how emotional that night was. Like what we caught at the end of the night, and our last piece we'll share with you. It would just sum up like how intense, how emotional the whole night was. It wasn't, it was more active for Mike and Lee because it does, it wasn't like they said, it's never that active, but it's not one of our investigations where we had overwhelming evidence,
Right.
It was a different vibe, it was a different environment, a lot of personal connection. And then with what we caught at the end, it just kind of sums up the type of night it was.
It was, you're right. I didn't think about it, but I think we all left with a different feeling.
Absolutely.
Until I hit two potholes on my way home.
And when Tiffany hit a deer.
Hearing this for the first time, so not late.
Well, let's start with which one?
We started the first one at the top. It's more, I'm just interested if the audience is able to, make out, what we caught. I would see what you guys think.
So here's this next one.
Is it upsetting to you that we're here? Just past,
Mm-hmm. I heard it right there.
Like, is it upsetting?
Is it upsetting to you that we're here?
Yeah, it's very faint, and it sounds like a lady's voice.
It really does.
And it's so hard when we listen to these because there's so much outside interference and the noise because we're trying to catch something from another dimension, guys. Like it's not going to come through and be like, hey, like
It might.
I mean, yeah, I could just go be like, right. But
And the other thing with this, like, it was just us. There's nobody else. Hell, the water wasn't even running. Do you remember that?
right, you couldn't even go pee.
Yeah.
You
So
couldn't even pee.
it was very limited with, what outside of noise disturbances we could have got. I just suddenly forgot how to talk.
What's wrong with the water?
It's not our situation.
Stephanie.
Not our situation.
Oh, yeah.
But it was still a good night. So I'm just going to play that one more time, guys, just for those of you who didn't catch it the first 2 times. You're going to hear the question, then a brief pause, and then you'll hear something in the background.
Is it upsetting to you that you're here?
So, and I actually hear 2 things in that.
Yeah. Again, it's right after something hits, like the bang, the tap, and then the response comes.
So for the listeners, it's right at about 7 and 8 seconds into that clip if you play it again. But that was, again, it's something we can't really identify what it was. I mean, we think we have our thoughts, but you guys let us know. Send messages. Let us know what you think. If you think it's bunk or trash, just let us know.
Yeah,
We're interested in what you think.
For sure. And the next one is a similar. It's something that so I'm doing an EVP session, and right at the end, I say something, and then I hear something come through. It starts talking at the end of my last word. So yeah, when we start this, it's going to be at the end of the clip, but let's listen to the whole thing. Is Charles downstairs with Jason? You can. So it's quick. So I say you can, and then boom,
It's right behind your voice.
it's right behind my voice. So we'll kind of. Is Charles downstairs with Jason? You can.
Yeah, you hear it in the background.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've noticed like it takes like 8 to 10 seconds sometimes for things to respond. So I do like that the method that you use between asking questions to give time. But I think maybe in that one they were trying to answer and then you talked and then their answer just kind of came in right when you were talking. Yeah.
But that was, and that's honestly the average EVPs that we get. It's hard to pick them up and everything else. A couple of audio that we did not get. So we were sharing evidence with L&M, and they had their own system up there as well. So we don't have all the evidence, but one of the rooms that we were in was the doll room, actually. What were you doing at EVP in the doll room? And I was actually, by this time, laying on the floor because that's where the room was. Jenny was sitting to my left, and then Tiffany was sitting to the left of Jenny. And during the EVP, I specifically, with my ears, heard somebody say something like "what" or something like that. And I sat up and I said, "Did somebody say something?" And Tiffany said, "I was going to ask you the same thing," because Tiffany heard it as well.
I remember that. And then I try to rewind and see if I caught something, and we weren't able to.
Right.
Yeah, we weren't able to find it in ours, but it was something where Tiffany and you both said something like, you acknowledge that you heard something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was clear. And it came from the group. It didn't come from a wall. It didn't come from the ceiling. It came from right in between all of us. And I have never heard a disembodied voice before.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, spoiler alert for another episode, this is not the last time I'll have heard one since the hypnotism session. Never in my life have I heard that. So did the hypnosis work? Well, no, maybe. But it was cool.
I sure think so.
Yeah.
Because our next episode that we record, I got some good juice to tell you.
I think you heard one that night too, because you actually stopped us in the middle of a session, and we played it back, and there was a noise, but it wasn't unintelligible again.
Yeah, and that does happen to me a lot when we're out at these places. Like, like when we were at the bed and breakfast, and I heard something like whispering in my ear, and then I was like, "What the hell?" And you were standing behind me, and then your EMF detector went off.
Yeah,
I was like, so fucking weird. I'm trying to pay closer attention.
You did that at Sal?
Yeah, Salias. Yeah, I think it was like the kids.
I'm like, what was that noise?
Kids room.
And we were doing a EP session, and yeah, you said like, "Did you hear that? What was that?" like, I think we eventually, during that episode, we were able to pull it back and we heard that there was, yeah.
It's weird how
It-
our ears work.
Yeah, right. I mean, it was a really good night. I'm sorry you missed it, Frank. And I mean, there's still the best evidence to come yet. We tried several things that night, right? I mean, before we get into this, is there something else you wanted to bring up, Brad, or anything like that?
Yeah, no, so,
Excuse me.
you know, all night I was trying to communicate with the last of the house. I mean, I was going around and I kept trying to, you know, say her name. And so the last owner, her name was Goldie. She worked for the city of Atchison.
She was actually a police clerk.
Okay, a police clerk. But she was somebody that liked to host like these balls, these parties, these, you know, like, you know, just imagine yourself in the early 1900s and you get invited to one of these old historic homes. You got the long dresses, you got the violins. That's what she liked to host those kind of parties. So all night I kept just trying to, you know, hey Goldie, you here? Goldie, you can come through. So it was leading up, and then, you know, we were like, we got to try something different. So I think you came up with the idea. Let's just get some fun.
I think that was actually Jenny.
Where somebody came up with the idea of violin music because it worked at the assembly house. We played music, and we caught it. A great piece of evidence. So we did it again.
And as I think Mike or Leah informed us, Goldie was also a violinist. So,
Yeah.
So we decided we're going to give this a shot. Let's play some violin music and see what happens.
So that's how it started. That's how, you know, the leading up to this piece. It's a good one. So we'll go and get this one ready for you guys. So this would be the one that we've been acknowledging as the best one of the night. It has a lot of emotion to it. Kind of sums up the whole evening. You know what kind of night it was. You get close to the lights.
Right there at the end.
You can hear it. Did you hear it?
I heard a voice say thank you.
That's
play it again.
absolutely what.
Ready?
Yeah.
Oh, that's clear.
That's
Mhm.
you can get close.
And this is the first time I'm hearing this, but to me, that's very clear.
Yeah, it's super clear. It's so clear. I mean, we don't even have to clean it, enhance it, nothing. That's literally, we're playing you what we got.
Yeah, and that's right. That is straight from the audio, and this is something that we caught on site. You know,
Yes.
You know, I was doing my EVP session.
Ooh,
You know, I
excuse me.
was doing my 30-second. You know, I usually I split it up. Sometimes I do quick ones for 10, 15 seconds, but this one was a little longer. And then I stopped it. You guys are just going on with the night talking, and I'm just listening. And I remember I heard it, and I don't know if it was you that heard it in the background.
Yeah.
You're like, what was that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know, and I caught it. It was another one like the Pythian Castle where I almost dropped my stuff. I was like, whoa. So we played it for everybody.
And to add to the story, so the both teams are in the piano room right now, which is the part of the lore of the McInteer is Goldie died in that room, in the piano room, where there's a fireplace or piano, and she died in the chair that's actually still there. So we had a tri-meter, a tri-field meter in one chair, and then we had an EMF detector on top of the fireplace. And I think between the fireplace was Jen, myself, and you were sitting by the fireplace. And as we're playing the piano music or the violin music, the tri-field meter would go off, and they would kind of fade, and then suddenly the EMF detector, the fireplace would go off, and it would go back and forth. Almost,
Mhm.
we're like, it's almost like somebody's dancing here, like a bar,
Yeah.
Right.
ballroom dance. And so we kept going. We were watching it. We moved the meters. We swapped things out, and it kept going. And then shortly after, we got that EVP.
Let's go ahead and play that.
Of course. And I also note that didn't Leah do another channeling session where Goldie said something about
Yes,
it was nice, like
the hypnosis session. Yeah,
the hypnosis session, how much she appreciated us doing that, and it helped her relax, and that she enjoyed our time there. Like
Yes.
I felt like the message that we were getting was, I'm so glad you guys specifically came here to
Yes.
do this here today, because not only did we enjoy the hypnosis and settle, I think it also helped the spirit settle
I do
too.
remember that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was kind of wild.
It was strange.
And
I get
then we get an
goosebumps.
interaction with Goldie.
No.
So crazy.
Matter of fact, if I remember right, if you can hear it, you'll hear me halfway through says, "I'm getting the goosebumps," because as they were going back and forth, I started getting goosebumps, and then you hear the thank you.
Here, I'll play this for you.
I think this was the clip. Yeah.
You get close to the green lights. Oh.
Yeah, you can hear me say, "I'm all
Not
goosebumpy."
only I'm all goosebumpy, and then you get that's
Well,
like a 3 for her.
Go back to where I say I'm all goosebumpy and listen to right after I say it.
Oh.
I hear
There's
something.
something behind my voice.
Yeah. Let's play it again.
Oh.
What is it?
No,
The hang.
I
Are
mean,
we just
I wouldn't blame it.
Are we just now picking this up? Are we live now realizing this happened?
I knew it was there. I just stood up when I was trying to review it, but I could never figure out what it said.
Oh, I never knew about this. Is the first time I'm here.
But I'm playing it again
Yeah, let's
because
do
I
it. Oh.
Yeah.
what does it say?
What do you think?
I hear it. I can tell you
Yeah.
what.
I just hear a really breathy voice speaking along with.
Can I just say, if there are any people listening that have the capability of splitting audio and enhancing that,
Yeah.
we will send you the clip, okay? And we will shout you out. Hell, you want to come to Kansas? We'll put you up in a hotel room so you can talk about how you did it. But like, I would really like somebody to be able to split that up and tell us what the hell that says, because
Yeah.
that is crazy. And I don't know why I didn't catch on to that sooner.
But that's very hard. And, because you're focused on the melody and the musical quality of my voice.
You are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so quick. It's I think he was speaking simultaneously with me, and then I ended, and so you caught the tail end of it. So,
That's nuts.
but that was our McInteer adventure.
Yeah, I think that was a much more relaxed, less spooky, more emotional
Yeah.
investigation that we did.
It's I'll be honest, when we were going to go back, we talked about going back to the McInteer, and I was like, after the group and all that, I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, it's worthwhile, right? It's here, but I wasn't all worked up and excited until Tiffany said, "Hey, can we do the experiment?"
It's like, yeah,
Hell yeah, we can.
can we do it right now?
Yeah, right.
Like,
But it ended up being one of my favorites.
it was cool. Sorry you missed it, Frank, but
I'm sorry I missed it.
you're still a part.
But you were still included.
So, like, it makes me wonder what is going on beyond, because there was a spirit, I guess, that at some point on that day said, "Oh, I got to be at the McInteer at this time," and he doesn't. And I got some messages for him, and then he goes, "Oh man, where's Frank at? Frank's not here." And then some female spirit shows up and says, "Oh, well, he's." Yeah.
Well, the next time you're spanking it, just remember somebody knows what you're doing.
No,
But somebody's been always. Just know somebody's always watching.
You're welcome.
I mean, that's a good experience, experiment. Like, never mind.
What did Frank do last night at 11:32 p.m. and a.m. and 1 o'clock and 1:15?
You guys are horrible. Well, anyways, that was that. I just want to, for one, thank everybody for setting that up and all of us going up there. Thanks, Mike and Leah with L&M Paranormal. I should just say Leah and Mike because, put the girl first, right? Girl power. So L&M Paranormal, thank you so much for having us. We were so grateful to be invited up there. And they live 2 some hours away.
Yes.
And can I just note that Tiffany, we left there, Tiffany crashed her car right in front of me.
Oh, my. Yes.
I was like, what the? I watched it and it's like it happened in slow motion.
It was a deer. She didn't crash.
Well,
it.
whatever.
Yeah, she hit a deer.
Oh my God, I felt so bad. I was like, no. And I'm like, oh God.
And to Mike is actually a firefighter in his daytime, in his boring job. Without even missing a beat, as soon as Jenny called me to tell me, Mike jumps up. Does she need a medic? And he's getting ready to go. His gear's not even picked up yet, and he's getting ready to bail out of there to go help Tiffany.
Nah, she was okay, but the deer was not. And her poor little car. She was just talking about how it's paid off and she's had it forever. So yeah, it's such a bummer. It's a bummer.
With this episode, can the documentary Brad just sent it?
I hope so. I really do.
If not, we'll be linking it in one of the notes of our episode, just so everybody can take a look and see how it turns out.
Yeah, and I believe L&M will be hosting events in October in Atchison, so go check them out when they're out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And for us, you can find us at hauntedorigins.com. You can look us up on Patreon and wherever you're listening now. So thanks again to everybody for joining us. Again, this has been a wild ride, but we're glad that you guys are a part of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to need a little bit of a refill.
Well, let's get you a refill.
And I just want to say, I hope that we can continue doing this. And oh, that's good, bro. I don't need a whole fucking pint. What's that?
That was the wine. Frank, I need your sucking power.
White carpet.
Well, fortunately, you've got a black carpet over it.
Not where you spilled it, but that's fine. We'll work it out. We'll work it out after this episode. I'll get the carpet clear. But
It won't be the first time. Thank you.
anyways, I think there's green stuff over there from where we spilled like a margarita or something, some Grinch juice or something.
Did you really spill it?
Yeah, it's on the way. I think whoever mentioned it earlier really jinxed us. So,
Oh, well.
fuck it. Thanks for joining us in our chaos. Love you. Bye.
Thank you for joining us for Season 2, Episode 3, another episode brought to you by Haunted Origins Paranormal Patrol Podcast. We are so thankful for all of you and your support. Visit us at hauntedorigins.com.